Hey, what's going on guys? This is Nikhil from Mobox and welcome to this brand new After Effects tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to create this really nice looking 2D animation in After Effects. So without any further ado, let's get straight into the video and get started. So here we are in After Effects. So as always, I'm going to start by creating a new composition and this is going to be our main comp. So let's rename this to main. 1920 into 1080, 30 frames, 10 seconds and hit OK. So right off the bat, I'm going to start by let's go to ellipse 1, ellipse path 1 and unlink this and change the size to 500 by 500 shape. So let's rename this to base and let's give it a really nice color, something like a yellow tint, kind of a, something like that. Then I'm going to create our landscape, but before that let's add or crop this circle. So to do that, I'm going to use trim paths, set the end property to 50% and offset this by 90 degrees. So we have something like that. Let's close this up and let's start creating a landscape, kind of a shape, kind of a wavy shape that we had. So let's select the pen tool. I'm going to select a go pretty rough, just like that, as you can see. And then what I can do is I can select my base shape, hit Ctrl D to duplicate it and rename this to M for matte. This is gonna be our matte for the shape. So let's rename this to 01. You can rename this to anything that you want to go with that, and this is basically gonna crop up the shape, according to the circle. As you can see, we still have the circle and the shape as well. So we can always go ahead and tweak this a bit and make it as smooth as possible, or according to your requirements, according to the look that you're going for. So you can take your time, of course. The same process, select the pen tool, select a different color and create something like that. And change the shape layer track matte to alpha matte and bring this both the layers, something like that. Now I'm doing it a little bit quick, but you can obviously take your time and do it until you are satisfied with the look, something like that. Yep, I'm happy with that. Looks good to me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-comp this. So let's select the first shape, right click and pre-comp this. We can rename it to anything I want. I'm just going to rename this to 01, that is for the first shape, and pre-comp this to 02 and drag it. And while dragging, if you don't have the three corners, you can just use your arrow keys to increase, something like that. I want to change the color to something a bit, something like that. I'm going to basically change the colors later on. Just for now, I'm just gonna leave it right over there. Then go to polystar and adjust it, something like you can select the, if I hit G for the pen tool, you can select it and move it accordingly. So I'm gonna hit V and just select this and just use my arrow keys to bring this down, just like that. Looks a bit more better to me, something like that. Okay, maybe this is a bit too big. Let's scale this down a bit, make sure the anchor point is in the center. Scale this down to 80%, maybe something like that. Alright, so that is looking pretty good. Let's place it and bring this below all the shapes. We can just change this to a red color so we can see it more properly. So here we have our mountain. So let's create those little snow that we have on the top of the mountain. So select my pen tool, not my pen tool, the pen tool that we have in After Effects. And let's select the gray color and a bit precisely I'm going to draw a shape, something like this. There we go. Maybe I tweak it a bit by using the arrow. So let's rename this to snow and center the anchor point. And by the way, this is the move anchor point script which I'm using to center the anchor point, you can basically, you know, select the shape and turn on the snapping and select the move anchor point tool, and you can always snap it up in the center accordingly if you don't have the script. So that was a quick tip, you know. Alright, so bring the snow right over here. Let's make it red. And now we can go ahead and start animating it. So first things first, I'm gonna animate the mountain. So let's go to around, or maybe I'll start from the beginning. So let's select the mountain layer, bring this down by holding shift and hit P to bring down the position properties. Create a keyframe by, let's go with 20, and bring this right over there. Go 5 frames back in time, and I'm gonna make it pop a bit, so let's drag it just like that. So we have a little bit of overshoot right over there, as you can see, very minimal. Select the keyframes and hit F9 to easy ease those keyframes. Go into graph editor and I'm gonna create something like that. So let's see how it looks. Yep, that is looking pretty good. So let's go to 15 frames and I'm gonna select the snow shape, bring this about just like that, and crop this up by holding Alt and close bracket. Make sure the layer is selected and hit P to bring down the position properties. Click on the stopwatch to create a keyframe. Go to around, let's go to 1 second and bring this into the position just like that. Use your arrow key just to be a bit more precise, you know. There we go, looks really good. Let's select the keyframes and hit F9. Go to graph editor and let's create a curve like that, down a bit, maybe a 25. Maybe I'll go with 1 only. 1 second. And obviously you can turn on the motion blur to make it look even more better. So yep, this is looking pretty good. I'm happy with this. And then basically what I can do is go to around 5 frames and start animating our base shapes. So I'm going to select all of these 3 shapes by holding shift, hit R to bring down the rotation properties, and let's maybe I'll create a keyframe pretty quick. Go to 10 frames and rotate this just like that to around, maybe let's go with 40 degrees, and this to somewhere around there. I'm gonna tweak the shape a bit, so I'm gonna select this and select the shape basically and just, alright, so I'll make it 25 around maybe, and this too around, let's go with minus 25, or let's go with minus 35. So we have something like that, and then it's gonna overshoot, or not overshoot, basically it's gonna rotate. So let's go right over here at minus 180 degrees, bring this to minus 180 degrees. So now we have a little bit of, you know, anticipation. Oh, I did it a bit wrong, no worries. I'm gonna rotate the circle in a different way, so I'm gonna set this to plus, make this really look good. So let's select the keyframes and hit F9 to easy ease those keyframes. Go to graph editor, and if your graph editor doesn't look like this, right click and make sure you're working in the speed graph and not in the value graph. So I'm gonna go right over here, something like that, and create a curve something like that. So let's see how it looks. Oh, that was too fast. So let's see what we have. I think I'll increase the distance between these keyframes. Yeah, this is looking a bit more better. I'm gonna rotate this a bit more, so I'm going to go for plus 45. Let's go with plus 55, and let's go with plus 35, just to give a bit more anticipation. As you can see, and I don't want this to look something like that, so let's fix this. Select the pen tool and let's drag it just like that. Just trying to keep it smooth, you know, make it look really good. As you can see, make it look even more better, and obviously it would take a bit more memory. Select the keyframes and let's tweak this a bit more. Yep, that is looking pretty good. So let's see what we need to do. We need to animate the mountain pretty quick. So to animate the mountain, I'll go right over here, hit U so we can see the keyframes of our position, and let's animate it. So basically I'm going to go to right over here, turn off the motion blur for the moment, and let's create a keyframe right over there. Let's go right over here and bring the snow up by holding shift, and somewhere around there. So now we have something like that, as you can see. Let's select the keyframes and hit F9 to easy ease those, and let's create curve like that. Okay, and let's go to right over here at 2 seconds and bring this down just like that, and hold Alt and just crop this both the layers. So let's select the layer and hold Alt and close bracket to crop it up. So now we should have something like that, as you can see, and let's create a graph like that, or maybe so let's see our animation so far. I feel kind of a glitch. I don't know why. I feel this motion is not proper. So what we can do is basically we can select all the keyframes, hit F9 to easy ease those keyframes. So let's see our motion. Go to graph editor. Make sure to just, maybe I'll just put it right. Oh, I don't know what that keyframe is for now, so just leave it right over there. Let's drag it. Yep, this looks pretty good actually. Alright, so I think now the animation is looking pretty good, so let's check it out. Turn on the motion blur. Yep, this is looking actually pretty good. I'm going to select my ellipse tool and just hold shift, just create a moon just like that, and I'm going to create a shape into the circle just like that, and maybe I'll create one more just to give it a feel of a moon, something like that. So now you can see we have ellipse 4. So let's go right over here into the fill and change the color accordingly. So I'm going to change it to something like a darker gray and like that. Let's go to ellipse 2 and change this color as well, give kind of a feel of a moon. So you can always, you know, change the shape accordingly if you want to, and I think I need to do that. So we can just go right over here into the ellipse, transform, and let's change the position to somewhere around there. Yeah, that is looking a bit more better. There's little things just like this, you know, little things like this make your work look a bit more nicer. So let's go right over there. Let's scale this down a bit. Looks too big, somewhere around there. And let's add a property of scaling right over here. So let's 2.15 frames, and right over here hold shift, and I'm just gonna drag it right, and let's drag it by holding shift just like that, somewhere around there. Select the keyframes and hit F9 to Yep, that is looking pretty good. Let's hit U. So we can see all the keyframes. Select the scaling keyframes just like that and hit F9. And let's make it something like that. So let's check it out. Maybe this will drag it a bit over here. Just turn on the motion blur so we can see it a bit more quick. Let's select the keyframes and create a curve. Yep, this is looking a bit more better. Something like that looks pretty good. Maybe a bit more. Yep, this is looking pretty good actually. I think the moon should come up a close bracket. Just drag this a bit. Just a little bit of tweaks and here and there, and you know, take your time. Yep, that is looking pretty good. So let's create those stars for now. So to create those stars, and we don't need a trim path. Actually, we need the trim path, but not in this way. So I'm going to delete the fill. So we don't need the fill. 650 maybe. That's too much. 600. Let's bring this down to 10 maybe. And now we can animate the trim paths. So to animate it, I'm going to go right over here in the trim paths, and let's see what we can do right over here. So let's first of all, let's just set this to 0 and set this to 0 as well. Okay, and let's get rid of the keyframes that they have right over here. So let's delete it and go into trim path again. So let's hit UU 2 times so we can see all the properties. And there we go. So now what I can do is I can go right over here where the animation is just getting started. Create a keyframe on the end stopwatch. Go somewhere around there. Go right over here. Something like that. And create a keyframe on the start property. Go right over here and bring this up to 100. So now we have something like that, as you can see. Let's select this keyframes, hit F9 to ease those keyframes. Go to graph editor and create kind of a peak. Rename this to stroke pretty quick. Yep, that is looking pretty good. Let's check it out. I'll make this to -45. Select this keyframes, hit F9 to ease those keyframes, and now we should have some Control D. Let's displace this a bit, and we can scale this a bit, just like that. I'm gonna scale this to 108. Then I'm gonna scale this to, I'm gonna hit Control D, scale this a bit, change it something like that. So let's see what we have. That looks pretty good. So let's see our, yep, that is looking actually pretty good. So we can also pre-comp the mountain. So let's select the mountain and the snow and pre-comp it. Let's call this M for mountain and hit OK. Hit Control D to duplicate it. Select the last one and scale this down a bit, just like that, and displace them of course a bit, maybe around 5 frames. So and the last thing that I gonna want to do is to create the stars, and it's pretty simple. Select the ellipse tool. We don't need the stroke, we don't need the fill. Something like that. Basically what I'm gonna do is up, let's hit T and let's add an expression called bigger. Let's see, I have no idea how it's gonna work or look. And yep, actually this is looking pretty good. Maybe I'll make it, let's see, let's go with 200. Yep, that is looking pretty good. And let's make this 20. Oh, that's too much. Make it 12. Yep, that is looking pretty good. And basically all you need to do is duplicate it and move it. It's a bit small to move it. Control D, and obviously play around with the scaling properties as well, just to make it look a bit more random. So maybe also you can displace it, something like that. And now let's color this thing up. So let's start by adding a background. This is gonna be our beige orange tone, like that. A bit. Select this, hit F9 to release those keyframes. So as you can see, really good. Looks really cool. You can also change the color of the shapes, that is. And let's go right over here, create a keyframe, go around there and make it a bit darker, that's all, and a bit orangish. This to kind of a blue color in the beginning, like that. Create a key, yep, right over there, and make it a really nice and darker blue, like that. Maybe something like that, but it won't work maybe. So let's fix this up in a different way. So let's go around, not gonna work. So let's add a matte choker. Maybe that should fix it a bit more. Yep, there we go. That is looking pretty good. So something like that. And create a keyframe. So I need to drag this keyframe right over here, right over there. Looks that is looking pathetic. Let's actually make it blue green color, or maybe I'll go with the brown color. Let's go with the brown color actually. And snow, let's make it white. So yep, it's really simple and easy to create, and I hope you learned something new today. So that is a wrap for today. I hope this video helps you guys, and if it does, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.